So I was talking to you guys about the Confederate statue that's in Leesburg, and the Loudoun clergy and religious leadership group that I'm a part of wrote a letter of saying that I was in support of removing the statue. And so it actually got some traction on the news. And I want Ron to actually explain the whole process of what that looked like before and what it looks like now, and hopefully what it will look like to come July 1st.
Let me say, first of all, thank you for a very courageous letter, because not every and all of the comments were pleasant, or people are really appreciating, the intent of understanding that not erasing history, we're involving history. And we did this a couple of years ago as people look at all of these statues and their purpose and their mission when they were created in the early 1900s, probably from 1900 to 1908. They were funded, by Confederate recognition associations, I'll call them, and for the purpose of, really looking at how do you keep the Confederacy alive in the age of Jim Crow was alive and well and growing, and the number of lynchings and things in this country. So these statues and these symbols weren't created to honor war dead, and at that point they were not even considered by the United States veterans of any war, but traitors. And so while there was great division when these statues were put up, there's still great division now in this country as to the meaning of that history and how it should be celebrated. So when I'm asked in the conversation that I'm having with others, is about where these symbols should be, if they are to be. But particularly in Loudoun County, it is interesting that it's on the grounds of the courthouse, where justice is supposed to be more of a symbol of what people should expect than a recognition of what happened to protect the Confederacy. And there's even a World War II monument where the white veterans are above the line and the black veterans who died are below the line, very strategically. So we have some corrections to do and where things should be placed, how all of our history should be recognized. And this is the other complete piece. So on Memorial Day, we went to the segregated Mount Zion Community Cemetery, where the only place that blacks in Leesburg could be buried. And we honored the veterans of the Civil War and all other American wars by placing American flags on their graves. At the same time, the Union Cemetery, less than a couple of blocks away, probably had more Confederate flags placed at the sites of Confederate dead than American flags. So we have this stark contrast that we have to address in our society. So it's not just righting the wrongs; it is facing the atmosphere, the culture, the fears, the miseducation, the bad history, and the fact that slavery and the Confederate War was only fought to do one thing: is to keep slaves, and to continue to preserve this racist economic engine that denied people's humanity. And if that's the statue that people really want to have honored, then I want people to come out and defend that history, and rather than just simply say we're trying to change history. So this is going to provoke a lot of conversation in our community, and it should. It should be people willing on all sides to come and speak freely. We did this a couple of months ago. I think it was last spring with George Mason University Conflict Resolution Center. We were talking about lynchings, and we had a big community meeting about lynchings. And then we celebrated the fact that Leesburg, and I say we celebrated because we didn't memorialize. You don't memorialize lynchings, but you celebrated through recognition that 3 lynchings took place in Leesburg, and we started with 1, working along with the Equal Justice Institute. And the celebration is about how do we help bring awareness and recognition to things that either would be forgotten because of the tragedy or overlooked as they have been. And so we took the time to have this moment of recognition. So I think that's the same. So we have models of how we've done it and how we've had difficult conversations. This is not new work. It may be, again, hard work or difficult work based on people's level of interest and passions, but it's necessary work. Just like changing the names on street signs are, if communities feel that way, then it's absolutely necessary that we look at a common recognition for how we're all celebrated in our community, and then tell the history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you want to tell it all. Don't just tell some of it.
Okay, so now go into the statue. Go into the beef, the meaty part.
You know, we have grave sites and memorial parks. It belongs in a mausoleum, not in a courthouse. So the process being that I believe that the Board of Supervisors will engage the community through dialogue and discussion and get some recommendations. They have a Heritage Commission that has given some recognition to what other things might be able to be done previous to the legislation being passed. So my expectation is early fall, this community will have that dialogue and discussion. Again, the final determination will be a Board of Supervisors vote. I hope that the town of Leesburg will send a letter of support of removal. Thus far, some politicians have taken the position, hey, it's not us, it's the Board of Supervisors. Well, it's all of us to have a voice in this. So.
And is that because the laws just recently changed where now local municipalities can actually make a decision on what they want to do? And when does that take into effect?
I guess we're waiting for some leadership from the new law takes effect July 1st. And then it's up to all municipalities to determine what they'd like to do. I know some communities in the Commonwealth have acted sooner out of fear of losing the statues or trying to protect or doing different things with different symbols. But obviously, there's a great many of these types of statues in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
So up until July 1st, what we've seen is where the state was in control of these monuments.
The state was in control, and by state law, you couldn't remove them without state approval.
Okay, and that was something that wasn't going to happen. But now, because things have moved to the local municipalities, things could change depending on the local governing body.
Right, the state legislature passed a law which the governor signed, and the state legislature was unwilling to pass a law previously.
Okay, well, we see changes happening, so hopefully it'll move into the direction that we want it to move to make things better and move things along with allyship.